Welcome to Tuesday's Tips from So Very Easy. My name is Laura. And a very simple pattern can look amazing depending on the fabric you choose. Fabrics with very large prints and big borders make amazing statements in clothing. However, there are a couple of things you need to look for. This fabric is a cotton fabric from Timeless Treasures called Mystique. And what it does is has a nice big border on both sides with the floral in between. But the floral is what you need to watch for. There are a couple of areas on the pattern that are very important to mark before you cut your fabric, because there are certain things that perhaps you don't want in certain places. For example, you are not going to want a floral print here or down lower, because that would really make it obvious and the dress would not be as striking because the eye is only going to go to those areas. So take your pattern and mark those areas. And by having those areas marked, when you go to cut the fabric from the pattern, it will be obvious not to put perhaps a large floral in those areas. So you're not going to want a very obvious mark in those marks that you chose. The next thing to cutting the pattern out would be to find the center of the pattern if there's a center line in your pattern piece, because you want the fabric to be the same on both sides. Find the center points and put a pin right through your center marks. And then fold the fabric right on those pin lines. So the pins are sticking out and that's where the fold is. So I'm going to know that both sides are the same. And it's also important to make sure that your border or a stripe also is the same on both sides. And to make sure that the patterns on the front and the back match up, you can find any mark that is very obvious, a point or the center of a flower. You're going to put your pin through. It should point through in the same spot. And by doing this, you will be able to line up the pattern. So choose a couple of areas and mark them and pin them so that the points on the front are the same as the points in the back. And do that also for a stripe. Now that the fabric is matching on both sides, so I know the pattern is going to be equal in the front of the garment, I'm able to pin my pattern piece on. And because I marked the areas where I don't want perhaps a large floral or a very obvious mark, I'm able to know exactly how to place the pattern piece. And if you have a stripe or a pattern that you want to match exactly, you need to match it on your paper pattern piece first. So take the piece that is supposed to match up, line it up, and draw the design that is on the fabric onto the paper piece. And by marking the pattern piece, when you go to cut this out, you will be able to line up what you need to so that the two edges will match perfect. And by pre-marking your patterns, you have assured yourself that you do not have florals where you don't want them, and you're going to be able to match up the stripes perfectly. Thank you for joining me today on Tuesday's Tips. Feel free to subscribe, and as always, come on back and see what we're sewing next time in the sewing room. Bye for now.